Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Chicago-based bandleader Shawn Maxwell on the 2023 album Story at 11. This is his 11th album as a bandleader and composer, done as a long-form composition in 4 movements. Each movement stands independently, but they are connected musically and emotionally. We cover this project, live shows, post-COVID living, and so much more. Enjoy.
Everything's good. The sun's shining here in Kansas City. It's great to reconvene with you. You got a brand new album, Story at 11, so I'm looking forward to diving into that and, surviving the last of this COVID and all that. So thank you for taking a minute out today.
Dude, thank you for having me on this. I always appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure, you bet. So before we get into Story at 11, I know that we had talked relatively recently, so I'm curious, how have you been doing with kind of getting through this last leg of COVID, and how good does this album release feel?
I'm afraid to say, I've been saying this to a lot of people, I'm afraid to say things seem normal, because then I'm going to jinx us all and then we're back to where we were a couple of years ago. But things seem, in some aspects, back to normal and somewhat actually back to better than normal. I am super pumped for this release and super pumped. Over the last year or so, we've been starting to tour more, and especially in the last, I'd say, 4-5 months, we're doing a lot, and again, it feels good to be, I was joking with someone that, man, I feel like a professional musician again. This is cool. So, yeah, man, coming out of COVID, things are great, and I'm pumped about this release, just kind of getting this new music out and touring and getting in front of people again. It's been awesome.
How did this album come together? How did you construct it?
Well, the previous album I had was recorded in the heart of the pandemic, where we just did a long or many tracks. There was 18 tracks, and they were all just short snippets. I think the longest was 3.5 minutes. Most of them were around 2 minutes. And even the previous albums before that, I was doing a little more tracks, but less time, not totally digging on things, just kind of like a snapshot of something. So I wanted to kind of do a different kind of thing. I've been telling people I'm originally a classical clarinetist. I didn't actually start playing saxophone until I got to Joliet Junior College, where I signed for classes, and the guy's like, yeah, you're going to be in the jazz band. I'm going to let you borrow a saxophone. So up until then, I was just a classical clarinetist, and I wanted to do something more long, like a big overture or suite where we had several movements, or 3 or 4 movements, but they're all very long. Just kind of to break it up from all the previous recordings where we just did short track after short track. So we kind of landed on 4 movements and kind of constructed it so it's like that. Each track of the 4, I want to say, is anywhere from 12 to 13 minutes long. And that was the beginning of the concept of what Story 11 was just trying to change it and kind of come at it from a different kind of point of view.
So you had mentioned, kind of coming back and getting back to some level of normalcy. How's everything unfolding? With the album, with live shows, the warm weather's coming. How's everything opening up?
I mean, again, knock on wood, things look really, really good. People seem to be going out to live shows again. There's several places we're going to where we're seeing more people than we did even before the pandemic. And things are going great. The schedule is filling up, and I almost feel like I'm being too optimistic with the last handful of years that we had before this, but no, dude, again, from what I've seen on our end, things are looking great.
So what are you hoping the listener gets from this album?
It could probably be cheesy to say, enjoying the journey, but that's what it is. So these 4 movements on here, it takes you on a journey, and I purposely didn't specify any one because I want people to fill in the blanks from themselves. But I think there's a lot of great improvisation. There's a lot of great composition in there, and throughout it mixed together, the 4 tracks can stand on their own, no problem. And sometimes when we're doing shows, we'll just do 1 or 2 of them. But other times, we could do an entire set just playing that all the way through. And I think it actually takes you on a journey. And, I think if people just kind of listen to the entire thing and go with that, I think they're really going to enjoy it.
So the one component about all of this is that people and fans, along with musicians, obviously, are back to live environments. How good does that feel? What does this feel like? What does the energy feel like?
I think for most jazz musicians, that's what we do. No matter how many albums we record in a studio or whatever, playing live in front of people and feeding off them and their energy and their reaction, I mean, that's a big part of what we do. That's the main thing. I mean, besides some financial issues, that's the main thing that was totally awful about COVID, is even if we were doing live streams or something, there was no audience. And that's just, to me, that's the weirdest thing in the world. So to be back in front of all these audiences again and actually see smiling faces, to hear people applauding and getting into it and see them moving around, I mean, it just, for me, it amps me up. And I think for myself, when I'm working with other musicians, we're improvising, we have that good vibes going on. I feel like we take improv and just everything to a very next level.
So, Shawn, if anyone out there wants to get Story at 11, see you live, anything revolving around your world, where's the best place to go?
Best place is to go to ShawnMaxwell.com. And Shawn is spelled S-H-A-W-N, Maxwell.com. So ShawnMaxwell.com, you can find everything you ever wanted to know and stuff you probably didn't want to know about me there. You can also get music and, yeah, everything is right there at the website.
I love it. Shawn, it's great to catch up with you. Great to see brand new music. Best of luck with the album and the return to the live stage, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Hopefully we'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Chicago, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Shawn for his time, energy, and cool. If you want to hear more interviews, you can find Neon Jazz interviews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to us at YouTube, and for everything Neon Jazz, go to theneonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.